Hi again. So I hope you've had a chance to finish the problems. The fractions again were 3/4, 5/6, 1/8, and 2/5. You can probably see now my chart paper looks a little funny. I got a little over ambitious with the size of my 3/4 number line and I made it really big, and then I got to 5/6 and I realized I was out of paper. So I had to add an extra chart paper at the bottom, so I hope you can see it. So my 3/4, I used a straight edge. I'll be honest, I didn't have a ruler. It was the edge of a Grumpy Cat book that I found on the bookshelf. So Grumpy Cat helped me with my fractions today. So my denominator is 4, so I know that I needed to make 4 equal pieces in my shape, and then my numerator tells me how many pieces we're talking about, so I knew that that's the number that I needed to shade in. So that's 3 out of 4 pieces, that's 3/4. Now for my number line, this is where it got a little big. 3/4 must be, yay, very excited. I started with 0, and then I knew I had to end with 4/4, because 4/4, if I'm talking about all of the pieces in all of the shape, then that means that the top number and the bottom number have to match. And in order to get that, I took those hops in my head. So I took 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4, and that's how I knew how many lines to make. And I labeled them out, and I did my hops, and I numbered 3/4 by making a little dot here. I also circled 1/4 because to show you that that would be an entire section of the fraction bar. Remember, you have to count the entire section on a number line to equal the space on a fraction bar. So let's go to 1/8. Oh, my paper's getting a little puffy over here. This was fun. Lots of little pieces in 1/8. So I counted out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it's a good idea to always double check the number of spaces that you have in your fraction bar and the numbers that you have on your number line, because sometimes you may miscount and you may draw too many lines and you have an extra space, or you might not draw enough and then you're a space short. So it's always good to double check to make sure you actually have the same number in your denominator that you have in your shape or your bar or your number line that you're supposed to have. So I did my unit fraction here. 1/8 was just kind of unique. Remember, that is a unit fraction because the numerator is a 1. And I made all my numbers on my number line. I started with 0, and then I had 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, and I know them at the end. Low battery. Oh, I hope my video's still going. I had a low battery message. I better talk faster. I think I do that anyway, so this might be really bad. And so then I marked 1/8. My 2/5, you can see this time I colored in the 2/5, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces in my fraction bar, because that's what my denominator told me to draw, but I know I needed 2 pieces up here. But remember, these are unit fractions, so that's 1 equal piece in the shape, but together it equals 2/5 of the whole shape. And on my number line down here, I started at 0. I counted 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. But remember, you have to take up the whole amount of space in the number line just like you do in the fraction bar. So that's why we count out to the point. So I have 1/5 and then 2/5. And then 5/6 I had to squish on down over here with an extra piece of paper. Like I said, my 3/4 was just too big. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces in my shape because that's what the denominator told me to do. I colored in 5 for 5/6, and then just for fun, I labeled all of the unit fractions. All right, and the unit fractions is 1 piece, 1 equal piece in the shape, but when I add them all together, that's how I get 5/6. And on my number line, I started at 0. I counted to 6/6, 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, 4, 6, 5/6, and 6/6. That's a tongue twister. And I took my hops and I ended up at 5/6. And you can kind of see as I went along, I transitioned from making lines on my number line because the fraction bar kind of resembles, and that helps me to remember to line up everything. I transitioned from making the lines to switching over to the points on a number line. That's kind of really the right way to do it, but when you first learn, you might want to draw lines, and then you might want to transition out to the dots. So there's our fraction lesson today, my first math lesson in the basement. Yay! I'd love to have a video of me making a video. I'm sure it's a stitch. But I appreciate you watching. I will keep trying to make videos for math. I am worried about keeping up math skills for the rest of the year. I'm, like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be getting back together and we can do lots of math in person. But if not, we'll be having math lessons in the basement. So I hope you have a good night, and until the next video, I'll see you then. Bye!